Hello, darkness, our old friend, and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devil Show. I'm Anthony Totri, joined for this special Walk of Shame with Ralph Amsden. We're here. We're going to be talking a little bit about Arizona State's 15-7 loss to the No. 5 Washington Huskies. My goodness, Ralph, we're obviously going to get into some stars of the game, some miscues, what went wrong, all of the things, but just your initial thoughts to that 15-7 ball game, man.
Oh, man, it was painful, but in a new way. Like, do you ever get convinced, you should try Pilates, right? Oh, that's like a stepmom workout. I'll be fine. And then 2 days later, there are parts of you that you didn't even know existed. You didn't know they existed. And now they hurt so bad that it's the only thing you can think about. And this was one of those games where, and maybe some people felt different, where it felt like the bottom wasn't going to drop out.
Yeah.
It felt like it was Arizona State that was just hitting against the rock, chipping away, and it was eventually going to break. Didn't see it going the other way. Don't know how I didn't see it. I don't know how after decades of this I didn't see it going the other way, but it did literally go the other way for 6. And here we are.
Literally talking ourselves into it every single week as an Arizona State fan, right? We had Derek in the office. I had Damon here in the office, and I was standing up, face red, like I was in this game just as much as Arizona State was. Like you said, they were in full control of this one until you got to the fourth quarter, and it felt different, and I don't know if it's because it actually was different or because it's, 7 days have passed and I want to tell myself it's different, but it felt like Arizona State was driving to put it away, and then you brought it up. The Trenton Bourguet pick 6, Washington goes the other way. They take the 12-7 lead. The 2-point conversion doesn't end up mattering. They get a late field goal at the end there. But even with 7 minutes and change left in that game after the pick 6, it was just deflating to the point where every ASU fan knew. Like, that was it, right? That was the dagger with 7 minutes to play.
Until we started inching our way downfield, and then all of a sudden there's an injury, and it's over. And then Jacob Conover has a positive run, and there's a flag on the field. It's over. And then Trenton Bourguet gets back on the field. There's a positive initial play. We're back in it. And it's just, I got rope-a-dope so bad there at the end. I figured they might actually be able to drive down. You figured, people had made enough mistakes. There were enough drop balls that maybe people were going to lock in and they'd be due. But you forget, this game's on the road. It's in Seattle. It's loud. It's cold. It's hostile. Unless you're built for that kind of moment. And sometimes you don't find out till you're in it.
Yeah.
It's really, really tough to succeed.
And when the Huskies needed it most, Michael Penix Jr. in that final 6-minute stretch, he did what he's done all season, and he looked like that guy. He looked like the best quarterback in the conference. He looked like a guy that's competing for the Heisman Trophy. He looked like the guy that's trying to shoulder the weight of this team to the college football playoff. And it was, to ASU's credit, they gave him a fit in that whole number 1 offense in the nation. They gave him problems, forcing 4 turnovers. Credit to Brian Ward, who we'll get to here in a little bit, but it just wasn't enough. Michael Penix Jr. and company did what they needed to do to end up getting that extended 3 points, extending that lead to make it 15. In ASU, the way we've seen this offense kind of move all season long, really, even with Jaden Rashada, even with Drew Pine at times, it just still looks like it's missing something, that it's still behind in a way. And I know they're a banged up team, right? The offensive line is just, they've taken a beating, not like anything I've seen before. I guess Kenny Dillingham on the post-game radio was talking about they literally didn't have the offensive line personnel to go attempt a field goal at a certain point in this game, which is just unbelievable to think about. But like this one especially stings because of that defensive performance, because of what Brian Ward was able to do to stifle a group in Michael Penix Jr. and what some of those DBs did, what BJ Green did, how the linebackers played. Like, Ralph, the defense really did play all out tonight.
They did. And when we say the defense, like, we're specifically talking about one of the leading tacklers being Alfonso Taylor, a former Utah walk-on who transferred in, went to North Canyon High School, and probably shouldn't even be out there, and is out there going against the Heisman front runner, holding him without a touchdown pass. And this is somebody who I think had 3 turnovers and was sacked 4 times on the whole season. Coming into this game. And Brian Ward, who last year in the Apple Cup gave up over 700 yards to this same exact offense. Same offense. Holds them to what? Less than 10 yards rushing. No touchdowns. No touchdown passes from the Heisman front runner. The worst game he's had in 2 years comes against a banged up Arizona State secondary. The tackling on the outside was phenomenal. The fact that they were completely turned away from even thinking about running the ball in what was a 1-score game, unreal. Unbelievable. The linebacking core is down to bare bones. The defensive line got more pressure than even Oregon did last week. The sack numbers don't show it, but Michael Penix was uncomfortable all game long. To lose one of your best pass rushers, gets booted out of the game on a questionable targeting call, and to just consistently stay in it, even when tired, even when on the road. And again, over 700 yards, over 50 points last year, Brian Ward coaching Washington State's defense against this same exact offense. This is an all-time come-up, all-time effort. Credit goes to the head coach, obviously, too, for the ability to motivate. When you're talking about putting together a defensive game plan, I see the emotional people. I'm one of them out here calling for Kenny's head. Understand, if you were happy with Brian Ward tonight, that's a hire Kenny made. I'm out here looking for positives, and there aren't many, but it was an inspiring performance from the defense, a wasted performance in a wasted year. But at the same time, I think it's going to be one that they build off of, that they remember for a long time. They know now what they are capable of, and not just them when healthy, but like as a scheme. They can take on the best and hold them without a touchdown. They know that about themselves now.
Yeah, I think the really big part of this game that hopefully sticks with this unit throughout the rest of the season is, I think, even going into this game, regardless of the way that the defense had played up to this point, this was a roster that was still trying to find some sort of identity, right? Yes, the defense had played well up to this Washington game, but they weren't able to actually force turnovers. Tonight, they were able to do that. Like you said, they stifled the number 1 offense with a quarterback who is certainly going to be in that Heisman conversation at the end of the road. This is an Arizona State team. I know they're 1-6, but they can hang their hat on. They are a defensive team, which is crazy to think about when we talk about Kenny Dillingham as the mastermind behind this whole thing. And all the credit in the world to him is always on the offensive side of the ball. So, like you said, Brian Ward truly impressed me, and he probably is going to be getting some calls in the offseason, I would imagine, about some potential head coaching jobs. I know we had Dom in the chat earlier asking if we're worried if Brian Ward might take that DC spot at SC at a certain point. But it really is remarkable what Brian Ward and this defense did. I do want to get to the numbers of tonight's game. Obviously, the most important number that we have is that final score, 15 for Washington, 7 for the Devils. In terms of total yards, ASU accumulating more total yards, 341, than Washington, 288. You look at the third down conversions of both these teams. Washington just 3 of 11. ASU on the other side, not much better, 5 of 17. And then turnovers by the offense. Arizona State, obviously, with that costly pick 6. 4 for the Huskies, a couple of picks, a couple of fumbles. And this is a real big one, Ralph. ASU dominating the time of possession, 37 minutes and change to Washington's 22-31. won. What do you make of that?
Well, time of possession is not always a good thing.
Yeah.
But usually when you see time of possession numbers like that in a game that you lose, it's because you got boat raced
Yeah.
by a team that's scoring on first and second down and didn't need the ball in order to put together long drives. Arizona State was forcing 3 and outs. Like the total yardage for Washington is far less than Michael Penix Jr.'s just average passing yards up
Yeah.
to this point. Like, oh my gosh, it's the numbers are in the one that sticks out is 5 for 17 on third down.
Yeah.
It's put them in the position in the last 4 weeks to go for it on fourth down a total of 18 times. Which, if there is no other stat that tells you that this is an exhibition season, it's that. Going for it 18 times in 4 games on fourth down?
Gives fans heart attacks, man.
For sure. For sure. And when you're, and I know there's going to be a lot of questioning about, the field goal. If Kenny Dillingham has already said they literally did not have the personnel to run that out there again, then I think that question is answered. I think people are going to want to know what happened on that pass, but in order to know what happened, you have to relive it. So enjoy. You might want to just wipe that one from memory and chalk it up to a miscommunication. But I don't know what a yo-yo, because the first quarter ended up being completely indicative of the type of game that we were gonna watch. Uninspired offense, extraordinarily inspired defense. The offense doing enough good things to keep you interested, but not to actually put any points on the board. And to the 4 being +3 in turnovers, plus 15 minutes in time of possession, in the plus for total yardage. And the other team did not score an offensive touchdown.
That's crazy. All of those That's crazy.
It makes me wish I was there, Anthony.
That's crazy.
To commiserate with you. And you know what I would do if I was there? I would hold you. But first, someone's going to have to explain to me what the hell holding is.
Dude,
what is it?
I don't know. I figured this is a pretty good indication that that's a hold, right? Like if you're tugging, if there's extension on cloth and my shoulder pads are showing, I would say that is probably holding. But apparently to Pac-12 refs, that's beautiful coverage, because it was good enough for them to pick up the flag. It's not like we were having this conversation of they didn't throw the flag. Nope. They threw the flag. You're telling me not a single ref opted to look just maybe at the little scoreboard and see that? Are you kidding me? I was losing my mind in this office. I was literally as red as my shirt is right now, going up and down. Just, I don't even have the words. I literally don't even have the words to describe what that was. It's just, it's trash, man. It's trash. It makes me happy that the Pac-12 is not a thing next year, because those refs aren't going to be employed. That seriously is where I'm at.
Oh, for sure. And it's not like it was a uniform trick, because you have that going on more and more. People wear the color gloves of the... But Washington's entire team was dressed like Prince does Christmas. Bright purple tinsel chrome Christmas trees out there. When you pull a white jersey and it's that Adidas stretch fabric, it looked like Victor Wembanyama's arm just stretched way out there.
Literally.
And a flag gets thrown. I would love some sort of explanation. I know there's nobody at home in the Pac-12 offices to be able to even answer any of this stuff right now. And I know that, nobody's going to go out of their way to answer any questions for two teams that are on the way out. But that type of stuff is completely inexcusable. Does it change the outcome of the game? That's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
We're talking about the integrity of the, something that just kind of takes you out of it, that even if you do give your receiver the opportunity to make a play, that they might not be rewarded, with blatant interference. And I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about I would hold on every play. I would push on every, I would do anything you can to get away with anything you can. But like the idea that a flag gets thrown and picked back up, I just want some type of explanation for why.
I don't know. I think at that point you got to go get your eyes checked. If you're that referee and you see that on replay, which you will, like at a certain point you got to go get your eyes checked because, buddy, there is something clearly not well. Something is just not right whatsoever. Sean in the chat talking about the Pac-12 refs potentially going to the Big 12. Sean, we're not going to put that out there. Okay. Eric also in the chat. Once again, my dad and I were confused because watching that replay, it was pretty clear that was holding. I actually tweeted out the photo of that specific play, so definitely go check that out on Twitter and let me know what you guys think. We're going to carry on. We're going to go ahead and get to bottle service here in a second, but before we do that, I want to tell you guys about our brand new partner, Gila River Resorts and Casinos, Arizona's biggest and best resorts and casinos. You guys can sign up for Gila River Resorts and Casinos $1 million Big Red Showdown. Stay in the game and get rewards. It really is that easy, guys. Play fun, free games online for a chance to win $1 million cash. Again, win up to $100,000 in cash, 21 and over only. Visit GilaMillionDollarShowdown.com to get in on the action. For more information on Gila River Resorts and Casinos and all they have to offer, head to playatgila.com. Ralph, I don't know about you, but this specific game, it's one of those games where I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep after this post-game show. My adrenaline is up. My frustration is up. I do have like a 30-minute drive home. So when I get home, I'm headed straight for my fridge. I'm going to grab myself a Wink, which if you don't know what a Wink is one of those little seltzers, probably about yay big, right? Probably the size of like a mini Coca-Cola can, except the difference is it's got about a wink of THC, just enough to take the edge off, just enough to maybe think that hold on Troy O'Meara wasn't actually a hold. So Pac-12 refs, definitely take the Wink after the game. Okay, we see that you guys like to use it around the third and the fourth quarter, but for everybody at home, you guys can use Wink for all 4 quarters. Again, it's got the perfect THC and CBD balance. It's available in either 2.5 milligram or 5 milligram cans. You can find Wink right here in Arizona. Look for Wink at all Sunday Goods dispensaries, Navali and Botanica Dispensary in Tucson. You can also save money online by going to drinkwink.com and use that promo code PHNX for 20% off. Ralph, I texted you probably third quarter. I texted you and we were talking a little bit about who could potentially get bottle service for this game. Usually it goes to a player who had an outstanding evening, but tonight wasn't a player. We had a consensus that it was going to be Brian Ward. Brian Ward getting bottle service tonight. 2 scoreless quarters. Mind you, Arizona State, the first team to hold this Washington offense to 2 scoreless quarters. I believe going into this game, they had only had that happen to them twice this season where they didn't score in a quarter, which is ridiculous. ASU did it for 2 quarters, and then obviously the 4 takeaways for B. Ward. What did you see from Brian Ward tonight?
Well, one of my best friends used to work for Brian Ward. And the way that he would talk about this defensive scheme, which sort of comes from it all goes back to the North Dakota State teams that have won like 9 national championships in 10 years. That, Jake Dickert came from, Craig Bowl started it, who's at Wyoming now. Their defense is always crazy. They were tied 10 with Texas going into the 4th quarter earlier this year. The whole thing about this defense is that it's versatile and it's answers based. So it deals with the situation in front of them. Now, if you get exploited in game, if they find you out in game, then it can go real bad, real fast. Mm-hmm. But as far as coming up with a game plan based on the data that another team has put together all year, this is who you want. You want a Brian Ward or a Scotty Hazelton or a Jake Dicker or people who came out of that North Dakota State system. And he was employing this at Syracuse, at Nevada. It had some success at Washington State, enough to impress Kenny Dillingham. And you get the right personnel and you get the right buy-in. When you come up with a game plan, I mean, you can really execute it to perfection. And they did that here.
Yeah.
And on the road at Washington against the conference's best offense, almost knocked off an undefeated team, definitely did their part. He deserves all of the praise that can be heaped on him. And honestly, like he reached out. He reached out to Arizona State. He wanted this job. This is where he wants to be. Yeah, maybe he'll get calls to to get a raise and go somewhere else, but like he has family here.
Yeah.
And he showed Kenny Dillingham that this is the job that he wanted to pursue. There's plenty of people that wanted to come here and be the defensive coordinator, but a lot of them are waiting to get that call and not necessarily knocking down the door. When you have a guy like Kenny Dillingham who wants to be at Arizona State, when you have a guy like Brian Ward who wants to be at Arizona State, they can do some really special things together. But to be specific to one thing I saw tonight, just tackling. There was a catch late in the fourth quarter on the sideline. And you could tell the receiver thought they were going to shake Jordan Clark, and it just the second that Jordan Clark got mitts on him, shoved him out of bounds, and it was just anytime anybody got hands on a receiver, that's where the play ended. Not a lot of run after catch, and this is a very, very, very dangerous Washington group. Jalen McMillan will be a number 1 on 8 of the teams in the Pac-12. Rome Odunze is a top 5 receiver in the country.
Yeah.
And these guys had pedestrian outings today against Torrence, Jordan Clark, Alfonso Taylor, D Ford, and guys like D Ford, what they were playing at the FCS level last year.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that this defense was able to do that tonight against Washington. The open field tackling it's a phenomenal point, right? Jordan Clark, who I think doesn't get enough credit week in and week out for his open field tackling. Another one, Ed Woods. He had a phenomenal game. Obviously, he didn't get to play that first half, but he made himself known in that second half against the Huskies. And really a performance like this for a lot of people that aren't familiar with Brian Ward. Eric in the chat, who's a Washington guy, saying that DC was incredible tonight, right? It goes back to when Kenny hired him and he was asked point blank, why? Why did you hire Brian Ward? Right? Because the Washington State defense last year was good. It was a top 5 defense in the conference, but it wasn't a world beater. It wasn't Georgia. It wasn't Bama. It wasn't whatever, right? But his answer of simply, I didn't want to play it. I just didn't want to play it, right? It's difficult. It's annoying. It's kind of like you said, if they get you right, then it's going to be a long night, just like it was for Michael Penix Jr. tonight. It's all about chaos, and I think that's what you saw. Like, if you watch that line of scrimmage to one of the best offensive lines in the nation in Washington, they were just as stifled as Michael Penix Jr. And now I know it looked like they were sending pressure just about every other play. But seriously, it was a masterclass of a game called by Brian Ward. Michael Penix Jr. completing 64% of his passes, 275 yards, which is far lower than, like you said, what he normally is accustomed to. 0 touchdown passes, the 2 interceptions. I believe he gets credited with a fumble as well. So 3 total turnovers for Michael Penix Jr. As a team, Washington only rushed for 13 yards, averaging literally just a yard per rush. Like, I don't know if you could have had a better game if you were Brian Ward. Like you said, not an offensive touchdown. Washington won this game without scoring an offensive touchdown, and they have the best offense in the nation. That's like, if you're Brian Ward, do you go to Kenny and you're just like, I don't know what else to do, man? Like, nobody's done what he just did out there tonight. Same with the secondary and those players in the front 7, forcing pressure and making Michael Penix Jr. run. I know he wasn't sacked, but just making him uncomfortable was a big part of the game. And it's something I wanted to bring up a little earlier from the defensive side of the ball and offensively as well. Like, the game plan was perfect. Like, it was offensively, we are going to own the time of possession. And in theory, we're going to march down the field, take 6, 7, 8 minutes off the clock per possession, and we're going to score. They got in the red zone, couldn't score. Okay, offensively, there's your problem. Defensively, we're going to get Michael Penix Jr. moving, whether we bring him down or not. We're going to make this his most chaotic game yet. It's going to be tough. We're going to change things up in the secondary a little bit. And we're going to make sure that it's 3rd and long and they're not able to cut it in half, right? They're not able to go from 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14 to 4th and 6, 4th and 5, because we know that offense is capable of getting 5-6 yards per play. And that's what they did. They were able to stop them in that 3rd and long situation. So a team in Washington that is accustomed to going for it consistently on 4th down wasn't able to do that. And then you just get to the point where all year long, the big issue for the defense was, okay, can we get turnovers? Boom, did it tonight. From start to finish, this defense was able to get turnovers. So on the outside looking in, the game plan was beautiful. If you're able to punch it in literally one time and not have that pick six, it's clean game. You win. We're having a party. We're talking about how ASU just knocked off the number 5 team in Washington, who is probably going to find themselves, I would guess, fighting for a college football playoff spot in the last week of the season.
Yeah. And if you're not going to beat Washington, you now are a Washington fan. Yeah. And let me explain why to Arizona. You might not be in the mood to root for Washington right now, and I understand that. But here's the deal. You need to root for Washington on 2 fronts. Number one, that they can get inclusion in this lawsuit that Washington State and Oregon State have against the Pac-12, because Washington's trying to get in there and get it thrown out. And then they're trying to get into the college football playoff so that ASU gets a $500,000 check from the NCAA via the Pac-12, which Washington State and Oregon State are no longer able to block if that check comes in. So when in the morning, when you're able to shake this one off, get some purple face paint, play some Purple Rain. This is the better that Washington does from this point on can actually benefit Arizona State's athletic department as we prepare to move into the Big 12. And you know what? The players, they walk out in the field, they dap each other up, they say good game afterward. It was a nice run against Washington, and Arizona State owned Washington in the Pac-12 era. They really did. And some of the most fun games, some of the most memorable games. And unfortunately, it ended on this end of it. But overall, this is something Arizona State can leave to the Big 12, hold their head high and say that, a team that went to the college football playoff in 2016, a team that might go this year, that every single year ASU went out, gave them their best, and ultimately was on the winning end of most of those. I'm going to miss this matchup in particular. But as it stands right now, F Washington, F the Huskies.
Literally dominance in this matchup in the Pac-12 until the final quarter. Till the final quarter of the final game. It's just, it's a tough way to cut it. Obviously, Brian Ward getting bottle service, but he is not the only Sun Devil that had a really solid outing. That brings us to Heat Index. The first player that we're going to be talking about on Heat Index tonight is none other than Cam Skattebo. My goodness, if he's not getting bottle service, he's on this graphic just about every single week, Ralph, because this guy is truly, he's a muscle hamster, right? To take Doug Martin's nickname, he does absolutely everything. He passes, he catches, he throws, he punts. He could coach at this point. Cam Skattebo, 11 carries, 51 yards, the single touchdown that Arizona State had tonight, averaging 4.6 yards per carry. Also added 3 receptions for 25 yards. I believe he had a punt or 2 in there as well. Ralph, Cam Skattebo has quietly, or I won't even say quietly, but has slowly become a fan favorite in Tempe. And if you just turn on the TV on Saturday when ASU is playing, it is so easy to see why everybody loves this kid.
For sure. I remember after the first game of the season, I had tweeted out that he had the balance of a Boston Dynamics robot dog. And that tweet went unnoticed by everybody except for his mom. His mom found it, favored it online, and then the next week when he did it again, all of a sudden that tweet starts picking up traction, and people see it. He doesn't go down on first contact. He's so tough, fights for yards. He can block. He stays in the game after
Yeah.
taking lick after lick after lick. I got to be honest, though. I think he looks like a little bit different of a player when you can spell him with DeCarlos Brooks.
Yeah.
When you're getting production from somebody else, he doesn't look like he's Captain America. I can do this all day, covered in dust. Like he actually looks like he gets to go out there and execute the offense instead of having to, just move a rock pile 2 yards, and take some of the most brutal hits that we've seen in a long time that anybody has taken, and just keep getting up and getting back in there. He's special. He's really special. What I want for him is a functional offense that uh, where teams aren't loading the box
Yeah.
just to see what he can do, because he's not going to go out there breaking 30-yard runs all the time. But these 3 to 6 yard runs he's getting could easily turn 5 to 8.
Oh,
That
yeah.
changes the entire game.
Especially when you get later in the game, right? You get that third, fourth quarter, and what we've seen from Scat so far as being that bell cow guy. He doesn't have the fresh legs that you'd like maybe a running back to have in the third, fourth quarter. It's obviously not preventing him, obviously, from laying the boom on some of these guys. But what we saw from DeCarlos Brooks tonight, right, adding 60 rush yards on the ground, it makes you think, what could this ASU offense have looked like against Colorado or some of these teams, a Cal in the past, specifically a game that I know was really important for him, being a Cal transfer. Like you never know in some of those winnable games how, even 5 carries for DeCarlos Brooks, it seems like he is just itching to touch the football and make something magical happen. He's got speed that Scat doesn't necessarily have, but those carries definitely, I think, go a long way into Scat's durability in the fourth quarter, right?
Well,
That
yeah,
extra
because
juice.
5 carries for DeCarlos Brooks isn't Cam Scatterbo getting hit 5 less times.
Yeah.
He gets hit 3 times on every play. So the 5 carries for DeCarlos Brooks is 15 less hits
Yeah.
for the moving fire hydrant that is Cam Scatterbo. It's doubly important because he doesn't go down on first contact. So he's taking multiple rounds of punishment on every single play. Any time that you can give him a breather to keep him fresh, it's going to be a huge benefit to your offense.
Absolutely. Moving to the defensive side of the ball for the next member of Heat Index, none other than safety Shamari Simmons. Shamari, look, only 1 tackle tonight, but had an interception that was tipped, had a fumble recovery. He just had a nose for the football. And look, this guy, I don't think gets enough credit week in and week out for playing with the injuries that he plays with. Dude looks like RoboCop. He's got a giant, robotic arm on one of his shoulders. And throughout all of the injuries this season, I know he's been dealing with stuff, but he has been able to fight through it and play, which I think has been huge for a defense and a secondary that, the secondary specifically hasn't necessarily played as well as people maybe thought going into this season. I know there were some high expectations, but Ralph, Shamari really, really did have a giant impact on this one tonight.
Absolutely. Well, you said nose for the ball. He's today's truffle pig, right? And ASU sorely needed this. Preaching it every single week in practice. The offense just needs another chance, and that's the tough thing is. So they gave them 4 more chances, and we have 7 points to show for it. Oh man, I love that stat. No touchdowns for Michael Penix Jr. is going to remember Arizona State for the rest of his life.
Wow.
He's going to, anytime he sees maroon and gold, when he gets the NFL, if he sees the Commanders, he's going to buckle. He's going to buckle. Like he can't handle these colors for sure. But with Shamari, he came from Austin Peay.
Yeah.
And of course he's a tough dude. He Hutchinson Community College. Anybody who went to community college in Kansas and played football, if you remember Ryan Terrain, the toughest people in the world.
You love football.
To hang out in Garden City or in Dodge City, Kansas for 2 years. You love football more than life because you don't have much of one for that time that you're out there. And he went to Austin Peay. He balled out. He's making the most of this opportunity. Unfortunately, he's been banged up. But he showed himself as dependable. And unfortunately for people like me, who I want to make every excuse in the world for Kenny Dillingham, I look at the personnel and I look at I look at the personnel and I say, yeah, they're doing the absolute most. They're
Hmm.
doing the most with what they have. And then you look to the defensive side of the ball and you're like, well, I guess they could do more, because you have Shamari Simmons out here from Austin P, D Ford out here, Alfonso Taylor, like guys that there are guys playing that didn't think that they'd even have an opportunity to. Will
Yeah.
Schaefer's gone, Connor Soley's gone, Joe Moore's at Missouri, Omar Norman Lott's at Tennessee. Like this defense is so patchwork, it's so hodgepodge. And Shamari Simmons, I think, right now he's really the poster boy for the offense being able to look at themselves and say, what excuse do we have? If they're doing it, we have to also.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. LTC in the chat with the stat that Ralph was mentioning for everybody listening on audio. Michael Penix Jr. career stats against the Devils: 60 for 95, 586 yards, 3 INTs, 1 sack, and 0 touchdowns. I think this is a big game. This is the real the clip that Brian Ward turns on for potential transfers in the offseason, right? Of what can this defense be with you? This right here. You hold the number 1 offense in the nation to 15 points. You hold a Heisman level quarterback to no passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a fumble. This is the type of game that gets you defensive transfers. It gets you defensive commits. I know it wasn't a win, but again, I know there's people on social media that are maybe they're able to remove this season entirely from their emotional capacity, and they're just immediately like, okay, this is what we got for next season. This is what we got for next season. This is what you got for next season, right? Is a defensive outing like this. You're able to string it together week in and week out. I know they've lost previous games against Colorado, SC, 2 offenses in the Pac-12 who, similar to Washington, they find ways to score. And I know that those teams both found ways to put up points against this ASU defense, but if you turn on the tape there too, you can see that they slowed down Caleb Williams at times. Again, up until that fourth quarter, they had a chance. They made life a living hell for Shadur Sanders in that Colorado offensive line. Like, this is the game where it's like, okay, they did it. They strung it together. They've got pressure. Awesome. They're able to get turnovers and give Trenton Bourguet in this offense a few more opportunities. Perfect. Like, this is the Arizona State defense moving forward. And I think if you're going to take anything away from this game, it's got to be on the defensive side of the ball and just how well this unit played. But we are going to go back to the offensive side of the ball for this last heat index. And that is honestly the entire offensive line for Arizona State, because this is a group that has been beaten. They've been battered. It seems like every single game Arizona State is losing 1 to 2 offensive linemen. I know they had defensive lineman Sam Benjamin working with the offensive line earlier in the week at practice because they simply don't have enough offensive linemen. But Arizona State, the offensive line, the makeshift offensive line, the beat-up offensive line, didn't allow a single sack today. And then in terms of what they did on the ground, they 145 total rush yards, the 51 for Scat, 63 for DeCarlos, 22 for Trenton, and change for some other guys. What'd you see from this Arizona State offensive line?
Overachieving.
Yeah.
This is Braylon Trice and Zion Tupulu Fatui. They're 2 of the best pass rushers in the Pac-12. They've been a disappointment this year as far as what the expectations were coming off of last year, but they didn't forget how to rush the passer.
Yeah.
And they absolutely had every plans on feasting on backups. Absolutely, right?
Not just backups, like third string at some positions.
Yes. And, you remember 4 years ago, Jaden Daniels as a freshman going out to Utah, taking on 3 future NFL players and, Bradley and John Pennicini, Lecky Fotu, and Ladarius Henderson was out there at 17 trying to block Bradley and it was horrifying to watch. Like this Washington defensive line and their defensive front 7 is no Utah, but they're good. They're very talented players. They've got multiple all Pac-12 players on that defense. The thing that I thought was going to be a problem coming in was the length of their defensive backfield. It ended up being an issue all night long. But as far as the offensive line, they created a clean pocket for Trenton Bourguet, not only to work from, but to run from.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't closing in on him to the point where he couldn't get out of it, because he is, he's got a lot of obvious strengths and a lot of obvious weaknesses. And one of those weaknesses is if he gets hit, he's going down.
Yeah.
And so for him to have enough of a pocket to be able to break a 17-yard run when you're backed up into your own end zone, like that alone, had that been the only thing they did all game long, they should definitely be getting some recognition. So I was very, very impressed. At the end, Isaiah got that holding penalty, which apparently they unpaused what holding was for that, because you tugged the collar, which is exactly what happened on the previous series, for Arizona State offensively. But other than that, I thought they played well. I thought they played disciplined football. And one of the hallmarks of good, consistent coaching is keeping procedural penalties out of the picture. Usually that's not an option when you're playing backups on the road. Usually it's not an option when you're playing backups, and usually it's not even an option on the road, period. And they, for the most part, played a very disciplined football game. And that's just, they deserve all the credit in the world for their performance tonight.
Yeah, credit to that group. You bring it up. It's not something that we've talked a whole lot about, but this was a road game that for the majority of the game, Arizona State took the crowd away, right? Going into it, it's 50 degrees, it's cold, it's rainy, it's wet. Washington just, had a massive win against Oregon the following week. Like, nobody really expected Arizona State to make this a ball game. Nobody expected Arizona State to be built to go play in the PNW in the rain against a Heisman level quarterback and the number one offense in the country. But credit to what ASU and Kenny Dillingham have built over, the last few months of being able to be a team to go out there and do something like that. I don't want what I'm about to say to be taken out of context, but like, you look at a team in USC and how they performed in the cold, wet performance against Notre Dame a couple weeks ago when they got their ass kicked, right? Like, that's a team, which I think a lot of people saw against Utah tonight, that isn't necessarily built for that environment. It is clear that Kenny Dillingham has a plan, he has an idea, he has a culture, and he has a level of toughness that he's trying to get in some of these players. And I think you are slowly starting to see that this is an Arizona State team that is hopefully years down the line going to be built for games like this. And maybe on the other side, they come out of it being the 15 and not necessarily the 7. Look, we're going to continue the conversation here in just a little bit. I mentioned I do have a lovely 30-minute drive all the way back to Tempe Chandler after the show, and I'm going to be stopping at our local Circle K. Maybe pick up a Gatorade, fill up on gas, because I need that. Also, I am a member on their new free membership program, and you guys should be too. This little lovely thing called Inner Circle, where you guys can save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, and you're going to get every 6th free on a selection of Circle K products, whether that be pizza, coffee, ice-cold fountain drinks. And if that's not enough, I talk about it every single day, the lovely deals that they have on energy drinks, on Gatorades, on all the awesome stuff. So join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Now, I know this was a road game, but I'm sure there were a lot of people in the chat that if they weren't going to be in the PNW and they were going to be in the Valley, that hopefully they found their way to Chase Field to watch the Arizona Diamondbacks. I know it wasn't necessarily the way that everybody here wanted it to go. They're going to head back to Philly and hopefully get it done there. So if you're in Philly or if you're in the Valley, maybe looking forward to the next ASU football game or an ASU hockey game. They just swept. They're 4-0, I think, for the first time in program history, which is absolutely awesome for them. So definitely go check out a game, and you're probably sitting at home watching this lovely program, scratching your head. Anthony, Ralph, where can I get my tickets, right? Where can I get them? Well, the easy answer, guys, it's Game Time. Game Time is simply the greatest. I talk about it every single day just based off the fact that you can get your tickets now and you could pay for them later. You could do little easy payments, and the tickets are seriously a whole hell of a lot cheaper on Game Time. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Ralph, we have this lovely segment called Aftertaste. I don't know if you've seen it before, but
Okay.
the way I deliver it tends to be a little suspect. It tends to be a little graphic. Okay. So tonight, you know, obviously I'm going to ask you what this game tastes like, but I can't just ask you what this game tastes like. So Ralph, what was plugged into your tongue holder this evening?
Plugged into my tongue holder.
Yeah.
What a phrase.
I want it to be known that the graphic was delayed because there was an audible gag from me.
I can audible. What was pumped into your gullet is one of my personal favorites.
You're asking my beverage of choice?
Yeah, beverage of choice. You know, some of these games taste like dirt, not necessarily a drink. You know, just
yeah. Okay, so what? Seattle's what? Coffee City?
it tends to be. Yeah.
Yeah, man. This is that day old grounds. This is when you run the Keurig accidentally on the same grounds a couple days in a row. This is that second
Ugh,
day cup.
that's
You
nasty.
were craving that coffee. You saw it sitting there. That's all you could think about. It kind of smells the same, and you put it to your lips. And no, this isn't gonna do. This isn't gonna do at all.
That makes my
This
tummy
is-
hurt,
yeah.
man. That's tough. For me, this tastes like, to keep it in Seattle, this tastes like 15-year-old Hubba Bubba off the gum wall in
The
Seattle.
gum wall.
That's what this tastes like. It's hard. Doesn't really have the flavor of Hubba Bubba anymore. It's just like plastic at this point. There was probably somebody who, you know, put it on the wall when they're 15. They're 30 now. Like, they're going through their second divorce. Like, and you decided that you're going to put that gum in your mouth for this specific moment. Why? I don't know. Similar to ASU fans watching this game with hope in the fourth quarter. Why? I don't know. But just like that person that put the 15-year-old Hubba Bubba in their mouth, you're going to do it and you're going to be like, I don't know what the outcome's going to be. But you do. You know what the outcome's going to be. It's shit. And that's exactly what it was at the end of this game, man. It's exactly what it was. So damn painful, man. I'm not over it. I know I've been composed, but man, I upset. I'm so pissed off that this is the way that game ended, dude. I just, God.
It's a
just
lot of.
pain.
It feels like, I feel like what's the Pokemon trainer's name? Ash Ketchum. That is
Ash,
I
Ash Ketchum?
never was a Pokemon guy, but it really feels like in our time in the Pac-12, we have collected them all. There is one. There is one.
Let's see. I think Ralph's connection may have got him. His connection may have got him on that. So we'll go ahead and go full till we can get Ralph back. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and get to the flick of the game here really quickly. Or let's see. Will we have Ralph back here? Ralph is back. Let's go ahead and bring Ralph back. Ralph, I think your connection may have thrown a pick six on that one. We were just we thought it was going to make it for the home stretch, but you know, in the final few minutes, we just couldn't get it done. Look, and now the audio's not working. You can't make it up, man. You can't make it up. Let's go ahead and have you join back one more time. Now we will go ahead and get to the flick of the game while we work on Ralph here. Let's see. Okay. Do we have him now? No, we don't. We don't have you right this second. So let's go ahead. Fan flick of the game. None other than Derek Montilla. I love how I sent Danielle 3 photos and she opted to go with the one where he had his eyes closed. I know it is totally purposeful. But the reason that this is the flick of the game is simply because if you watch PHNX Diamondbacks, you know that there is this little thing called the spot, right? Where I will stand in the corner and the Arizona Diamondbacks will do really, really solid things. That wasn't necessarily the case because Arizona State took the lead and we had Derek in this seat and he was watching the game from here and ASU was up at half. We're like, okay, maybe this is Derek's spot. Derek needs to sit right here for the entirety of the game. Then he moved over to our spot, the spot that I stand in for the Diamondbacks, and it worked. Up until Trenton Bourguet threw the pick six at the end there. And with that, we are right back to Ralph. Do we have Ralph now? Let's see.
I'm back.
Let's go.
Like I'm back.
Let's go.
I'm thinking
okay.
I'm back.
Okay, you were saying we caught them all in the Pac-12 losses galore.
Yeah, no, I think we have one like mind-numbing, brain-scrambling loss to every single one of these teams that involves like terrible circumstances, a little bit of ref tomfoolery.
There it is.
We had the Braylon Addison stepping out of bounds in double triple overtime against Oregon. At home to basically like derail an entire season, and Mike Norvell was out the door to Memphis. After all that went down, we had the 5th down against Washington State. We also had Mike Leach catching us stealing signs, and when he called it out, we lost our ability to figure out what the offense was doing before it was doing it, and so we lost that game as well. There's this one against Washington. There's the Stanford going out of bounds at the 1-inch line. I know San Diego State doesn't count as a Pac-12 team. They're more like Pac-12 terrorists, but we had the Frank Darby targeting as a benefit. Remember that one? Targeting as a benefit? Like Frank Darby got targeted and it won San Diego State the game.
Was that
like
that wasn't the Rashad Penny game, was it?
The Rashad Penny game was a home game. This was a road game. So back-to-back years of absolute hell. Like the game I described of taking a freshman lineman on the road to Salt Lake City against 3 future NFL defensive linemen. We got one of these against everybody. It really sucks that we had to add one more right before the buzzer. This is gonna go down in history as one of the more brutal losses where not only did we have a chance to win, we deserved to. We did everything that it would have taken to get that done. And so, you're right to be, you're right to be mad. And at the same time, I just keep having to remind myself over and over and over again, these are all friendlies. These are all friendlies. This season is for next year. Nothing about this season is for this season. Not one bit of it. It is all a showcase. And right now I'm looking at those Detroit Lions. Looking at the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell went in there and he said, we're going to get tough. We're going to do things the way that we do them, and eventually it's going to work. I think they won 4 of their first 25 games, including preseason, and now they're 13-3 in their last 16. That first year, they were down in every game. They ran the ball anyway.
Yeah.
That first year, Jared Goff ran the offense the way that it was supposed to be run anyway. They just set the culture, and they ate every loss, and they stuck by their coaches, and they didn't do knee-jerk changes. And that's what I want for this ASU team. I want them to be learning things about themselves that they can apply and get better with. The tough thing about it is going to be, do these NIL checks clear so that we can keep the players that have earned that from this community around on this team. And that's really the biggest question from his reward the players that put in the type of effort that we got from this defense tonight so that they'll come back and do it again next year.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on those NIL checks. As soon as those can clear, that would be absolutely phenomenal, not only for the guys on the roster now, but hopefully for guys that are on the roster in the future. We're going to get to our final thoughts here. But before we do that, obviously the boys are going to be back in Tempe, probably how long is that flight from the PNW? Probably 3-4 a.m. I would say 5 maybe if you're lucky. Not huge on my times, but regardless, I know
not big on the concept of time.
Yeah, just the concept of time. I'm not don't even get me started on time zones, man. Or daylight savings. Like I don't we don't need to discuss any of that stuff. But
I
the
feel
Sun Devils, Ralph potentially, myself, what I want to do on my Sunday, maybe Sunday morning prior to NFL football, is I want to head outside and I want to kick my feet up by the pool and I want to pretend what we just watched didn't happen. And when I'm laying by the pool, I'm not going to have the sun in my eyes because I'm going to have my Shady Rays on. And so are you guys, because you can shop their entire collection at their brand new location, Kierland Commons, a full stop shop for all things Shady Rays. And if you don't love your Shady Rays, you can exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There is no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use that code PHNX for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades, rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. And after you get kissed by the sun and you head upstairs to your apartment or your house to go ahead and watch some NFL football, you're going to pull out your phone and you're going to place a bet on the BetMGM Sportsbook app, just like I do every single Sunday. Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com and sign up with code PHNX. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your newly created account. Place a wager in the amount of at least 10 bones, and at standard odds price, a qualifying bet. Once you have placed a qualifying bet, you guys are going to receive $200 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your wager. Everybody on this program knows that I'm a Bolt fan, but I am taking the Chiefs money line tomorrow. I am sorry, Brandon Staley. Sign up for BetMGM. Use bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through BetMGM Sportsbook mobile app of at least $10. You guys are going to receive that $200 that we talked about instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane Up talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
Ontario. There you go, Danielle. There you go. All right, Ralph, we've obviously touched on this 8-point loss that the Sun Devils are going to be heading back to Tempe with. But final thoughts on this one. Obviously have to get back quick. You got Washington State next weekend.
Yeah, so Brian Ward going up against his old boss. I'm going to be honest. Well, first, I have a question for you. Before anything else,
Okay.
I have to ask you this. What is it like in the office when this happens? Because it's been happening to Arizona State quite a bit. I just want to know what that first moment of eye contact with Saul Bookman is like. Does he talk trash right off the bat? Does he rub it in? Or does he just kind of give you like the...
Like, what's it going to be like on Monday?
Yeah. Like, does he come like roaring out the gate? Or do you just catch his gaze and you feel it?
It's not going to be.
Doesn't need to be said.
What's going to happen is I'm going to walk in the office and I'm going to fist bump everybody like I normally do. And I'm going to head over to Saul's office to fist bump him. And I'm going to fist bump him and he's going to look at me. And he's going to tilt his head probably. He's going to be like, come on, man. He's going to hit me with the come on, man, for sure. He probably won't do too much trash talk. But it's just like when I hit Monday, it's already a day removed. I'm moved on. And he's just going to, come on, man. I'll be like, I know, dude. I got it. Pick 6 minutes left. We couldn't score offensively the entire game pretty much. Played a pretty perfect game and still found a way to lose. So, yeah, that's what Monday is going to be like with Saul.
Okay.
But, yeah, feel free if you want to hop on down over here. You can experience it for yourself.
I'm coming in for the territorial cut for sure. I'm interested in that dynamic. Here's what I'll say about Washington State. 2 years ago, Washington State came to Tempe. It was the 25th anniversary celebration of the 1996 Rose Bowl run of the team that beat Nebraska 19-0. That team was being honored at the game. The performance that Arizona State put up in that game got the players booed by the fans. Not a thing that I've ever experienced before in my life, either covering ASU for the years I was doing that, as a fan, as a student, even before I was a student going to games. I don't remember anything like that. I hate it. I absolutely hate that it happened. I talked to several players after that game. They hated it too. There were some seniors where that pretty much that was the aftertaste, and it still is, and they have a hard time with everything that's happened with the program, but in particular that. The fans owe ASU one, and ASU owes the fans one.
Yeah.
This is the opportunity to make up for that 2021 game where the 1996 team wasn't honored very well with the play on the field, and it definitely wasn't honored by the previous coaching staff not letting them address the team, which is a thing that happened because our old staff was made interesting choices. But
interesting choices is a light way, a light description of what their decisions.
So I say all that to say this: the crowds at Mountain America Stadium, Sun Devil Stadium, Frank Kush Field, they've been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
They've been incredible. Bring it one more time. And I get it. You saw the effort that this team gave against Washington. Even offensively, the effort was there. I see people complaining about play calling. I don't know if I'm smart enough to figure out exactly what's wrong. I know something's wrong. I know that it's probably personnel based, but the effort is there. It was there from Trenton Bourguet. It was there from Cam Scatterbo. It was there from the offensive line. You already talked about that. The players are going to give it their all in that game. I promise. The fans need to do it as well. Call it a makeup game. Let's end on a high note. That Washington State game from 2021 really felt like the beginning of the end. But the new beginnings, right? I think it's promising. I think Kenny Dillingham's the right person for the job. He came in, he gathered a bunch of players in like a private meeting, and he told them, "This is it. I'm not trying to get another job from here. I don't plan on being a head coach anywhere else ever. Maybe go be a coordinator somewhere if this doesn't work out, but like, this is it. I'm trying to be here for 40 years. Like, this isn't what we're used to. This isn't a mercenary, right? Like, this is somebody who's out here actually trying to get it right. Give him the opportunity, give him your support, give him some credit. That's right. It's what credit is. It's unearned, right? Give him some credit, give him some grace, go out there, make some noise against Washington State because they're a beatable team. They're a beatable team. They're very talented, but they're a beatable team, and we owe them one because Jake Dickert got his first ever win. Probably got that job permanently off what he did to us. So just show up, be loud, and I think you'll see your first, and maybe hopefully not last, but I think you'll see your first Pac-12 win of 2023.
Yeah, and your first FBS win in a pretty long time as well. Look, this is, I think, looking at that game, you brought it up. It's going to be, I don't want to call it a revenge game, but it's certainly going to be an emotional game for Brian Ward, AJ Cooper, Trey Brown, if he makes it back for that game. This is, we talked a lot in the bye week, and I broke down all the opponents that Arizona State had. Washington State being the one that I said was probably the most winnable of the games remaining. They just had come off that loss to UCLA. But after this performance against Washington, I will say that every game feels winnable except Oregon at this point. Again, if you play with the defensive tenacity in the scheme like they did tonight, then I think maybe they have a shot against Bo Nix and the Ducks. But that's the takeaway for me from this one, is that I think heading into this game, it felt for a lot of ASU fans like it was going to be a slaughter. And I think they left this game being able to go into the rest of the games this year with maybe a little bit of confidence to be like, you know what? We would have loved a win. A win would have been awesome, right? But they're just not there yet. But you can see the growth. You could see it week over week. And you just got to wait. You just got to give it a little bit more time. But to your point, ASU owes the fans one. The fans owe ASU one. This feels like next Saturday could be the one where ASU and Kenny Dillingham, they get their first Pac-12 win of the season. They get their second dub on the year. And who knows, maybe it inspires life for them to go on a little bit of a run down the stretch. That would certainly be a really, really awesome way for Arizona State to continue the season. We will obviously see what happens. Before we get out of here, do us a favor, do Bobby Hurley a favor, hit that like button. If you didn't know, Bobby Hurley and the boys, they ended up winning a little bit of a secret scrimmage against San Diego State today. They came out on top 72-68. Kamari Lands had himself 18 points. Jemiah Neal apparently looked good. Frankie Collins also threw in 15 points as well. Reports that Jose Perez and Adam Miller did not play. But Bobby Hurley got a secret dub, so you guys can go ahead and show a like for Coach Hurley. Also show a like for my man Ralph stepping in, doing this post-game show. It's been an absolute blast doing that with Ralph. Hopefully we get you in for that Territorial Cup game. We'll have you on the show. And for any other game, man, you are more than welcome to hop on this program. I
appreciate it, Anthony. And I love being on here. It's an awesome community, awesome people, and it's coming. It's coming. The shadow proves the sunshine. It's going to feel good. It's going to feel real good when it happens. And for anybody that asks why Arizona State's offense doesn't look like Oregon's offense, Bo Nix didn't get touched till week 10 last year. The biggest thing that will make this go is if our offensive line has the personnel to make it happen. And once that happens, you're going to see this offense do some things that's going to hold your attention. I promise you. Rome wasn't built in a day, but that is going to do it for us tonight. If you enjoyed the program, go ahead, give us a follow at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow the whole shindig at PHNX_Sports. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You could follow my man Ralph at Ralph Amsden. Danielle, where can everybody follow you? I'll make you spell it again.
Oh, boy. It's been such a long day, Totri.
I know. I'm sorry.
Abracadaniel. ABRACADANIELLE. I actually made a graphic for this for the next time, so I don't have to spell it out loud. And then at Danny Shoots Sports for Instagram, because I am a photographer as well. Everybody enjoy your NFL Sunday, and we will see you next week. In the meantime, go Devils, and good night.
We all silly like the mayor.